I'm Lisa Martin. Thank you for being here today. My colleague Jennifer Dean and I are excited about this opportunity to share how you can accelerate gender balanced leadership in your organization. Our focus for the next 20 minutes will be on 4 areas. 1, understanding the 3 unique decelerators that can hold women back from being promoted. Number 2, the importance of the employee direct leader relationship to fast tracking female promotability. Number 3, how measuring the promotability gap and the promotability quotient creates the foundation for advancement. And finally, number 4, what 3 key actions organizations can take to accelerate gender balanced leadership. Now, according to the World Economic Forum, at our current rate of progress, it's going to take nearly a century before we achieve parity and close the overall gender gap. Now, this is a stat many of us have heard, but it's not the full story. The slow pace of women rising to leadership positions in organizations, where in fact only 36% of senior private sector managers and public sector officials are women, is further slowing that projected timeline. Because of this poor representation in organizational leadership, the World Economic Forum estimates this will extend the time needed to close the overall gender gap from 100 to 257 years. And new research from McKinsey also suggests COVID will likely extend this timeline. This is a timeline Jen and I refused to accept. We're both ICF certified coaches with years of experience working with female leaders to advance their careers. Between us, we've coached thousands of women to thrive in their leadership and life. We've developed and delivered a variety of leadership development programs for world-class organizations such as TK, PwC, and TELUS, both in person and virtually. We've learned what holds women back from rising, and we know what propels them forward. We're frustrated by the slow pace at which women are rising in organizations and don't want to wait for women to have to wait until 2277 or later to achieve gender equality. We're on a mission to play a significant role in what UN Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, says is the unfinished business of our time. Our desire to see more women in leadership positions was truly the impetus for us to create our Promotability Assessment and the Promote Her program, which we now know are proven ways to accelerate gender balanced leadership, and we believe will help reduce the number of projected years to reach gender parity worldwide. High-performing businesses tend to have more women in leadership roles, according to studies by KPMG, McKinsey, and others. Companies with the highest level of diversity, whether that's gender, ethnic, or racial, are anywhere from 15 to 35% more likely to have financial returns above their industry's national average. We believe when we elevate women, we will be able to elevate everyone. When Jen and I first asked ourselves, how can we help accelerate gender balanced leadership? We did a deep dive into the research and learned that despite the many organizational policies and initiatives directed at adding more women at the top of organizations, sadly, the truth is hiring, retention, and advancement of women still remains problematic. So we asked, what could have the greatest impact on increasing female representation at senior levels in the workplace? And our answer quite simply was this: find a way to fast track female promotability. But before we could speed things up, we had to figure out what was slowing them down.
In our research, we discovered 3 unique obstacles that can decelerate promotion for women. The first decelerator is underprediction. Some women lack accuracy in predicting their performance and how they will be perceived by their managers. And this is regardless of the gender of their leader. Researchers believe that this underprediction phenomena is detrimental to both women and the organization, and it could be a factor that's holding women back from workplace advancement. The second decelerator is the lack of specific and frequent feedback being provided to women. In a study conducted by the Harvard Business Review, performance evaluations for female leaders lacked specific references on how they could improve their technical skills. In addition, researchers have identified what they call a protective hesitation. This is a tendency of some male managers to withhold feedback that they anticipate may be upsetting for their female direct reports. This withholding deprives women of the valuable feedback they need for them to continue to grow and rise in their careers. Finally, there's a lack of transparency for access to career advancing opportunities like stretch assignments, mentors, and champions. Researchers have found that access to these opportunities are often unclear, unadvertised, and unevenly offered to women in today's workplaces. These three decelerators, when at play, can have a huge impact on the effectiveness of the employee direct leader relationship. In many organizations today, when it comes to promotions, an employee's direct leader holds the balance of power. They tend to be the gatekeeper of information, opportunities, and relationships that lead to the promotion of their direct reports. Some leaders do an incredible job of sharing these opportunities and connections, and some don't. What became clear to us was that the state of this key relationship was a critical factor in accelerating promotability.
Because this is so critical to female promotability, we felt that it was important to name it. We tried to come up with a clever way to describe this relationship, but ultimately we settled on clarity over cleverness and called it the Employee Direct Leader Promotability Gap. In short, the promotability gap is the extent to which a female employee and her direct leader are misaligned on her readiness for promotion. But the promotability gap only tells half the story. When we look at how women advance in their careers, there are specific primers and competencies that, when done well, will position them for promotion. So what are the primers and competencies that position women for advancement, you may be wondering? Primers are tangible actions, assignments, and achievements, while competencies are vital skills. Again, we were faced with how to simply name what the primers and competencies mean in relation to female advancement. We started thinking about how we use IQ to measure intelligence and EQ to measure emotional intelligence, and therefore thought perhaps we need a PQ to measure promotability, and hence the promotability quotient was born. The PQ measures an individual's current level of readiness for promotion. We realized we had two critical factors that are part of a woman's promotability success: the promotability gap and the promotability quotient. As executive leadership coaches who rely on assessment to give us an accurate picture of people's behavior, we knew we needed a clear, simple tool to measure women's readiness for promotion, and therefore we created the promotability assessment. This assessment calculates an individual's promotability quotient and the employee direct leader promotability gap to give us the big picture of a woman's readiness for promotion. What's unique about the promotability assessment is this: it's designed to focus in on the female direct leader relationship. So, unlike many 360 assessments you may be familiar with, the promotability assessment is a dual rater assessment. Only the employee and her direct leader participate. It measures an employee and her direct leader's perspective on her readiness for promotion based on the 10 primers and 5 competencies I mentioned a few minutes ago. Promotability is the cornerstone of our Promote Her program. This 90-day live virtually delivered program features the promotability assessment, education, and a culture project, all designed to improve female promotability and the direct leader relationship. We have now delivered 2 full cycles of the program and are excited about the results to date. The women in our programs collectively have been able to increase their promotability quotients by an average of 8% and decrease their promotability gaps by more than 5%. What does this mean? We believe an increase of 5 to 10% for the PQ and a decrease of 1 to 5% for the gap in a 3-month period is a realistic goal. Changes in the PQ and the gap often result from actions like creating a career plan, having a mentor and/or a champion, and improvements in skills such as vision and visibility. Lastly, a higher PQ and a lower gap ultimately results in better communication and shared understanding with participants and their direct leaders. What this means for the organization is the possibility of improved profitability due to an increased percentage of female leaders. As women become more promotable, they rise and increase the number of women at senior leadership levels. Research by the Peterson Institute reveals that when 30% of leaders in an organization are women, the organization can expect to add more than 1 percentage point to their net margin. In a typical firm, according to the study, that 1% point can translate into 15% boost in profitability. So programs like Promote Her that increase female promotability in organizations ultimately boost bottom line profitability.
Based on our research and experience delivering Promote Her to several organizations, we have developed 3 actions that all organizations can take to accelerate gender balanced leadership. These actions are detailed in our Promote Her playbook, and you can download this at www.promotehernow.com. Action 1. Zero in on the female direct leader relationship and support it with solid tools and structure so it can thrive. Action 2. Teach the organization the language of promotability by educating women and their direct leaders about the 10 promotability primers and 5 promotability competencies. Then assess these regularly and to measure and narrow the promotability gap. Action 3. Foster fair and transparent access for female leaders, or even increased access to career advancing opportunities like stretch assignments, mentoring, and sponsorships. Gaining equitable access to these opportunities is pivotal to a woman's ability to advance and the speed at which it happens. If you're interested in learning more about the Promotability Assessment and how Promote Her can support your organization to accelerate gender balanced leadership, please connect with us. Thank you for being here today.